everybody. It's good to have you here tonight. We're glad you're joining us for this broadcast. My name is Michael Lee. I'm here with David Pena, and we're just going to talk to you a little bit tonight on the voice of destiny. We're going to talk some about some of the things that questions you may have about the election. And if we can answer any questions, we'd like to do that tonight. And so we just encourage you to join with us. And if you're logging onto this thing, go ahead, if you would, and share this so that we, that other people can see this, because it's our desire really to get as many as can to come aboard here and to, we maybe could try to help answer some questions. So I'm just excited about that. I think it's a good thing that we're able to get together, and I appreciate David being with me tonight. Good to have you here, buddy. We're glad that we're able to come along. You get two different perspectives. We're two different generations here, so I'm hoping to get some feedback from David and his age group and those that I think that he would be concerned about. And we've also had some folks that just said, hey, I really don't understand this election that much. I know who I want to vote for president, but this thing's going to have a lot of things on the ballot. And so it's really good when you can research and when you know what you're going in to do, and then you do what you feel like is the right thing to do. And in a moment, we'll switch over here. I want to show you some of the initiatives that are there. We're going to go through the ballot itself. We'll go through some of the things that's on there, and you'll be able to know if this is what I want to do or not. Now, we're coming at this from a church perspective as well. What we're about to show you is what would be safe for pretty much any denomination, any church, to look at and be able to say, you know what, I think this is how we would go too, because we're going to have a biblical perspective. But not to be offensive to anybody, but we may have different opinions. And there may be some of us, David may have a different opinion, and he's free to share that, or he may have something that says, this is how I feel, and this is why I would do it this way, or something like that. So if you're logging on with us tonight, I see you on there, Tom. Good to see you, buddy. But anyone that's logging on, if you have a question and you put it out there, we're going to try to do our best to see if we can help answer that. And we're going to go through this thing step by step. And we're kind of winging it out here in this studio. So we're doing it all, putting everything on the screen and that kind of thing. So if you hear a video start up or something, just hang in there with us. We're all doing this together. It's going to be good. I see Angela jumping on here. That's good. I'm glad. And you guys that are already on, go ahead and share that if you would, because other people not connected to Destiny and or connected may be interested in doing this. And we're going to have several of these broadcasts with different subjects throughout the time that we're doing this. We're really interested in starting this back up, and David has come aboard to help me host this one tonight, and I appreciate that so very much. So what we'll do next, I want us to switch over to Election Day's agenda, what's going on there. And now, for those that do not know, early voting has already started. Matter of fact, David and I went down and we got our vote cast yesterday on the first day of early voting, so that's a good thing. And it was pretty fun. That was pretty neat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fun.
Enjoyed it, and we saw some people out there doing their thing, and we did ours, and I'm just as proud as we can be that we went out and got ours done. And I encourage you, Republican or Democrat or Independent, get out there and let your voice be heard. This is what makes America strong, is when we're able to voice our opinion and speak our mind and do what we feel like is right. We can all smack talk and quote all over, post all over the internet, but it means nothing if you don't cast a vote. And one other thing before we jump into this is, no matter how much money you have or how little money you have, no matter how much clout you have or how little, no matter how much recognition you get or how little, one thing makes us all equal. We all have one vote. And if you fail to exercise your right to vote, it doesn't silence you. It takes away the legitimacy of your argument, because you're voicing an opinion, but you did nothing about it when you had the chance to do it. So with about 9 days left, I want you to think about, where is it that I need to go? How can I do this? And let's go out here and make something happen. So we're going to switch over real quick. I want to bring this screen up so you can see. This is basically our the two things that we're voting for mainly in Florida. The head of the tickets, the main thing that we're going to be doing here in Florida is we're going to be, of course, U.S. President, and you're going to have the two candidates that you know about, that you've seen all over your television. And then over on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see those two candidates. I'll get David. Tell us who you got over there, David.
Oh, so they have Debbie Mucarsel-Powell and then Rick Scott. Those are the two running. So these two are like the four candidates on the screen is just the two federal elections that are taking place in Florida, and then there's a whole lot of other candidates that are representing state offices and things like that. So that's our senator, our current senator at that's there right now, correct? That's, yes, Rick Scott is
he's the
first-term
incumbent.
senator. Yes.
Okay.
So he's running for re-election, and then Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, I think she was in the U.S. House, so she's already been in Congress before, but now she wants to take a shot at the Senate.
She wants to run for senator. Now, here's the thing, too, keeping in mind the Senate is kind of up for grabs this election. Although they usually go, you know, they're in for, 6-year terms?
Yeah, 6 years.
6-year terms. Each one has different times that they come up for re-election, and that's what turns a state red or blue is the senators. So keep in mind what are the things they go for. Don't just vote for them because they're in a certain party. My advice is vote for them. I mean, if you're a party hack and you're just going to vote because it's that party, then you're not going to like this program anyway, because we vote individually, the people, and we want you to know if they're making an effort to do something very, very good, then we want to be a part of that. If they're doing something terrible, we don't want to be. And then sometimes you hold your nose and vote for the best of the two, but you do what you got to do. Rick Scott was our governor before Ron DeSantis, and then now he's a senator. And so let's look at some of the issues. And David, if you'll just read, we can start off with the first one there is late-term abortion.
All right, so they have all these different issues. So late-term abortion is the first one. And basically, it shows Trump and Kamala Harris. Trump is opposed to legal late-term abortion. Kamala Harris is in favor, just based off of things that she said and her voting record, and same goes for Donald Trump also. And then Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, she also is in favor of legal late-term abortion, and then Rick Scott is opposed. So that's issue number one.
And late-term abortion, that's where people get into the weeds a little bit with it. Some of them literally will support abortion right up until the day the child is born. Others want to do it in a more safe way, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But some of the things that even we'll see on this Amendment 4, you know, there's going to be some things on there it may have been a little strict, but when you look at the way they're trying to shift it, it's like, okay, it don't look so strict anymore because of the way that they want to just rip everything out and say, okay, now we're just going to do abortions anytime, any place without, you know, parental consent. So that's important. Second issue that they show us here.
The second issue is single-payer health care. So Donald Trump, he's against, you know, universal health care. He's also against the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Kamala Harris is in favor of Obamacare, but also wants to expand to universal health care. And she made that a big issue for her when she was running in 2020 for president, because she ran 4 years ago. As far as Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, I believe she's kind of more moderate than Kamala Harris, but that's not to say she's, you know, or conservative or anything like that. But on single-payer health care, it looks like she's probably in favor of Affordable Care Act, but she hasn't come out full-fledged in support of universal health care. And then Rick Scott kind of has a similar position to Trump, as opposed to universal health care and Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, and Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, even if she's, you know, like more conservative than Kamala, as a senator, she will vote with Kamala on almost everything if Kamala's president.
Yeah.
And she'll probably vote against Trump on almost everything. You generally, in the Democrat Party, unless they move to the Independent Party, they have to go toe the line. That's one thing about the Democrats. They are monolithic. They have conservative, they have moderate, they have liberal Democrats, but they all vote the same way.
Yeah.
And, Republicans are always fighting about who's got the best morals, but these guys, that's how come they have victories many times. Okay.
And then American energy independence, supporting the increase of domestic oil and natural gas production by removing select environmental regulations. So Trump and Scott, they're both in favor of energy independence. Kamala Harris and W. McCarcel Powell, they're opposed. They're more in favor of let's stop drilling here, but then buying oil from overseas and other countries. And so that's kind of where they stand on that.
Yeah, that's always been something I've thought about. Man, it feels like nuts. They say, we're not going to have a Keystone Pipeline. We're going to cancel that thing.
Yeah.
And then we're going to let them open up the Nord Stream 2, and then the Nord Stream 2 start selling oil to NATO out of Russia. And then our oil prices go up because now they can control what we pay for it because we're buying all of ours from them.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of crazy. That's where Drill Baby Drill came from. So.
Yeah, and that's why gas went up so high like 2 years ago, is because when Russia and Ukraine got into their war, the Biden-Harris administration, they wanted to take a moral stand against Russia, and in return, stop buying oil from Russia, and everything became really expensive because we weren't drilling in America. So.
Mm-hmm. And we used up most of our reserve. And it really cost us, and it's going to take a while to get it back down. Mm-hmm. So once again, if you don't know who to vote for, and you're looking for better gas prices and stuff like that, Kamala hasn't talked a lot about what she's going to do, but she's also said that she's not going to do anything different than Joe did. Yeah. So if that's the case, let's hope she does if she makes it. But if that's the case, you need to probably go over here where they're ready to start drilling on day one.
Yeah. And then the next one is religious freedom, protecting individuals and businesses from being forced to provide services in violation of their faith or conscience. Trump and Scott are more in favor of letting people, operate their business the way they want, and not to discriminate, but if something violates their faith, they're more in favor of allowing people to, maybe not do business, do business practices that violate, their faith conscience. And then W. McCarcel Powell and Kamala Harris, they're more in favor of, the government should step in and say, hey, you got to be fair to everybody. And and the notorious example was the Colorado baker. He didn't want to bake a cake for a gay couple. Mm-hmm. And I don't actually know whatever came of it.
He won that case just about a month or two ago.
Oh, so that was Kamala Harris and W. McCarcel Powell. They probably would have sided with the gay couple, and Trump and Scott would have probably sided with business owners. So.
Alrighty, we can go to the next one.
So abortion funding. Scott and Trump, they both oppose using taxpayer dollars to fund abortions. Kamala Harris and W. McCarcel Powell would be in favor. And last time in the 2020 election, the Democratic primary, Joe Biden I think he was one of the only ones that was opposed, or he was in favor of the Hyde Amendment, which was a law that was passed. Mm-hmm. Keeping U.S. taxpayer dollars from funding abortion, and then he came out in favor of it because of the pressure from the other Democrats. So Kamala Harris was one of those Democrats in 2020 that was in favor of supporting taxpayer funding. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Gender ideology. So providing taxpayer...
Oh, Jesus, this is a good one.
Providing taxpayer funding for gender reassignment surgeries on minors. Trump and Scott are opposed to that. If you're an adult, you can do what you want, but they just believe that if you're a minor, then you should have to wait until you're 18 to do that. And then W. McCarcel Powell and Kamala Harris are in favor of sex reassignment surgery for minors, which I think is kind of not good. But mm-hmm. And then girls' sports kind of ties into the gender ideology, permitting biologically male athletes to participate in girls' sports. Trump and Scott are opposed, and then McCarcel Powell and Harris in favor of allowing that. ID and citizenship voting requirements, allowing only U.S. citizens to vote and only with proper ID. Scott and Trump both support that, and then Kamala Harris and Debbie Mucarsel-Powell oppose voter ID laws. So that's that one.
Okay.
And then the Green New Deal, Trump and Scott oppose that, and Debbie Mucarsel-Powell and Kamala Harris support it.
The Green New Deal is one of those things, that was trillions of dollars. And by the time they're done, it's like $91 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And, our country only brings in just not much over $100 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about making this, all this agenda of the Green New Deal come, and it's all wrapped up in the woke doctrine and
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff. And so I'm concerned about that. And that's something that I would look at. And what I've heard Donald Trump say is that they're going to take the money that's been set aside, because they've already set aside trillions,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to take that money and just and start using it for infrastructure and bridges and roads and things like that, and put it on American citizens, and not try to make it where you've got to live by this this doctrine of this woke ideology, regardless of whether or not you believe in the climate change and stuff to the same level as they do.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you want dirty water and dirty air. It just means this whole Green New Deal thing's a little bit ahead of its time. Things like forcing you to have an electric car by 2030 or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. If you want an electric car, buy one and drive it when you're ready for it. But if you don't, you should be able to drive whatever you want. And that's what makes America great. So I don't like that Green New Deal either. If those that are concerned about what I would do, I'd run from that.
Yeah. All right, and then the last issue is Supreme Court justices. So appointing justices who interpret the Constitution by adhering to the framers' original intent. Trump and Scott would support that, and then Kamala Harris and Debbie Mucarsel-Powell would oppose it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Alrighty. So that's the last one on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this, if you'll flip it back down to the very beginning of that so that everybody can see another picture of it. If you're just joining with us tonight, we're doing just a quick overview of what this election's about a little bit. We're going to go into the next section is what our ballot would look like in Marion County, Florida. We'll actually pull up a ballot, I think, before it's all over. But this is going to be what's on the ballot, the amendments and things like that, and then we can get into the judges and all of that stuff. So if you're planning to go out and vote, if you watch this video and rewatch it if necessary, we'll give you some pointers based on, again, a biblical approach to this and not a partisan approach. With all, just total clarity, I'm about as partisan as they can get when it comes to this particular election, because I'm so opposed to what's been going on for the last 4 years. But so my opinions are just that. But at the same time, we will try to show you why it is that way, and then let you see this again from a biblical perspective. This was produced by a group, Florida Family Action.org, and they are and there's a couple of versions of this, and one of those is for a church, make it safe for church and family, because this is about keeping Florida a very family state and a very Christian state, and I thank God for that. I do appreciate our government structure that we have here. So go ahead and bring it on up, and we'll look at again the amendment guide. This is kind of the idea that they have behind this is what again a church approach of church people, of Christian people, biblical, Bible believing people. And I hesitate to use Christians, because you can have Christian anything these days, but I say disciples, Christ followers. So we can go with this. Amendment 1.
All right. So Amendment 1 is partisan school board elections. So basically, it says currently all the candidates for school board run as nonpartisan candidates, and this amendment would change the system, requiring all candidates to run with a party affiliation and closed party primaries. Proponents maintain that this amendment will inform voters of party identity and potentially the challenges of candidates, thus exposing liberal political ideologues in red school districts. Some opponents maintain that partisan politics should have no place in school board races, while others maintain that the amendment would eliminate conservative candidates from contention in blue school districts, adding that liberal candidates in red counties could simply change party affiliation and bring their liberal policies to the school districts regardless. A yes vote on this amendment would require all candidates to run on a party ticket, with only partisan voters allowed to participate in school board primaries. A no vote on this amendment would leave the nonpartisan status in place for school board races.
And what they're telling us here, and again, this is put together as what a group of church people would look at it and go, this is kind of how I think we should all vote. And this one, they say vote yes or vote no.
Yeah.
I personally was just there. We did our vote, and and I don't mind telling you that I voted to make it partisan. Because what I think happens is a lot of times you can get either party, but you can get a party that's doing damage to the country. And so when people start to run for the school board, they don't have to disclose if they're Republican or Democrat, and so they may look just like everything else, and they talk the talk because you can schmooze up what you're saying, and then they get in there and they start pushing for some of this, this CRT or DEI or some of that stuff, and I know our governor stepped in and stopped a lot of that, but this protects us from things that we don't want to see happening, because you know what? We don't need our kids indoctrinated. We need them educated.
Yeah.
Reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so that's kind of our take on this. What would your opinion be on it?
Yeah, I voted yes on this one too. I guess I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but I feel like it's just kind of how you feel about it. Like this one, I just voted yes because I feel like it's good to know like what party the candidates are from. So, I voted yes. So
I think that's a good thing too. Okay, Amendment 2.
All right, so Amendment 2 is the right to fish and hunt. This amendment would forever protect fishing and hunting as humane and effective ways to manage Florida's wildlife. Fishing and hunting are recognized by both environmentalists and conservationists as essential methods for maintaining healthy wildlife populations and ecosystems. Experts agree that Amendment 2 is the right approach for managing Florida's wildlife and wildlands, as shown when the Florida legislature overwhelmingly supported this amendment with a vote of 154-1. As stewards of God's creation, this amendment allows us to exercise responsible management of wildlife, aligning with our Christian values of care and respect for all of God's creation. By supporting Amendment 2, we can ensure that Florida's rich natural heritage is preserved for future generations through responsible and humane practices. This amendment does not permit trespassing and allows the Fish and Wildlife Commission to continue to responsibly regulate these activities in Florida.
That's awesome, I think. I voted yes on that whenever we voted the other day. And I feel like because the way I looked at it was recently we come through COVID, and when there became an emergency, stay, then governors started doing all kind of crazy stuff across the country, and you couldn't fish, you couldn't hunt unless you were married to the governor, in Michigan. But it's really something. And then if you think about it, and I don't know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. I wouldn't say at all, because there's times I just look at it and go, man, that can't be right. But if the government ever began to encroach even worse on our freedoms, and they were trying to have an agenda, and they wanted to try to provide food, their kind of food, whatever it is they want to give the people, and they tell you can't provide for yourself, you can't hunt, you can't fish, you can't, what would stop them from saying you can't grow a garden, and they have somebody come check and see if you're growing a garden. If you can't hunt and you can't fish, then why do you need guns? So the next one is the Second Amendment of the Constitution, So maybe I'm taking it too far, but I voted yes. There needs to be an amendment that would forever protect fishing and hunting as humane and effective ways to manage Florida's wildlife. I like it.
Yeah, I voted yes also. I don't really see any reason to vote no. All right, so Amendment 3, legalizing recreational marijuana. This amendment will open the door to recreational marijuana legalization, including production, distribution, and possession. No clear guidelines for law enforcement are provided, leading many law enforcement leaders to oppose the amendment. Additionally, the amendment creates a semi-monopoly for a handful of pharmaceutical companies to control the entire production process and places the Florida Constitution in direct conflict with federal drug laws. The devastating effects of recreational marijuana use include impaired educational learning, threats to workplace safety, and excessive pollution in public places. The damage seen in other states that have legalized recreational marijuana is well documented, including increased addiction and crime, severe harm to marriages and families, decreased workforce productivity, and a rise in illegal black market activity from consumers seeking less expensive marijuana sources. We fully recommend a no vote to ensure that Florida continues to be a family and business-friendly state, unpolluted by a widespread and poorly regulated recreational drug industry.
There's a website you can go to there if you want more information. NoOn3.com. No, and then a dash on 3.com. This is one of those things, and as Christians and as church people, of course, your natural response is to say no. I have personal feelings toward it myself to say no, and I actually voted no whenever I voted. But the reason for that is we've already expanded the use of marijuana. We've expanded, the CBD and all of the stuff. You can see these stores all over the place, and you can get a card and you can get medical marijuana. And this would eliminate the need to even have all that, and you could have all sorts of just situations where people they're undisciplined in what they're doing, and there's no regulation on it. And while my thoughts generally when it comes to government is they need to stay out of our business. And so that would be the reason I would wrestle with this, is because I don't believe anybody should be able to tell somebody else what you can grow in your backyard, what you can smoke, what you can drink. I may not do it, but I don't think I should push it on other people. And at the same time, because of the way they worded and the way that it's set up, I thought, I'm going to go ahead and be a no vote for this.
Yeah.
What's your take on it, buddy?
I actually voted yes on this one, and the reason why is, for me, just the way I view it, not that I'm saying smoking marijuana or smoking weed, like, it's a good thing, I'm not saying that, but I just feel that, I kind of compare it to alcohol, and a lot of people are using marijuana now, and not that it's good, but I just think that, it's better that it be legal and people buy it from a dispensary where things are monitored than buying it on the street where it could be laced with fentanyl, or and people end up dying because of that. And I just think when I look at recreational marijuana, do I think, and this is just my perspective, but do I think that somebody who smokes weed should be made out to be a criminal and thrown in jail? I just don't think that. So I voted yes, but I guess just vote your conscience on this one. I don't know.
Absolutely, I think that's good, and that's what I mean by having another generation of people here, because regardless of how hard we try, we're looking through things through our paradigm of life experience. And so mine is one of an older generation, a group of people that are already in their 60s and beyond. And so, a lot of sometimes our ideas are shaped from that. And so I do get that, and you make really good points. And I feel like that too, because I feel like it's not fair, because I have a religious belief, that I pass a law that everybody has my religious belief. I just don't like that. I don't think that's fair. It's not right. And it wouldn't be right for them if they had to do the right thing because the law made them. Sometimes it's good for us to be able to exercise who we are and what we're doing. So I do get your point on that, and I think it's real good, and I hope people understand what this is about. But mine was a no vote, so we'll go with that.
And before everybody calls me a liberal for voting yes, Donald Trump is planning on voting yes on that amendment too. So, not trying to swear at anybody, but I'm just saying that there are people on both sides, for and against, on that one.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to understand. People can hear both sides of this. That's one of those things that has controversy, but it's not the end of the world. You're not taking away, someone's. To me, you're kind of taking away their freedom to do what they want to do. But I see it as something that could damage people. It depends on how they have, where their source comes from to describe what it is. Because some of the stories that came out of Colorado once they first did it was DUIs like crazy. They had all kind of stuff going on because this stuff stays in your system so long. And it, unlike alcohol, you could wait a day or so and it don't show up. This is totally different. So, and I felt like until they get to the place where they can measure amounts and things like that, it might be better to just not have that.
Yeah. All right. So Amendment 4, legalized abortion until birth. So this amendment is a radical and deceptive proposal that would enshrine an unlimited abortion from conception until birth in our state constitution as a fundamental right. Unlike most ballot initiatives, none of Amendment 4's key terms like government interference, viability, patient's health, or healthcare provider are defined. Because viability is not defined, this amendment has no clear limits on late-term abortion. Additionally, patient's health is not defined, creating a massive loophole so that mental anguish, stress, or morning sickness could be used to justify late-term abortions, even when the baby can feel pain. Amendment 4 allows doctors to be removed from the abortion decision-making process by not requiring an actual medical doctor to determine if an abortion is necessary to protect the mother's health, or if the baby she is carrying is viable. Instead, it allows any so-called healthcare provider to make these determinations. Under Florida law, healthcare provider isn't limited to doctors, so even employees of abortion clinics who are not licensed medical doctors would be able to approve late-term abortions. In a bait-and-switch, Amendment 4 claims to protect parental notification, although it deceptively fails to mention that parental consent laws in Florida would be repealed, making abortion the only medical procedure a minor in Florida could receive without parental consent. Finally, the radical activists who authored this amendment will use the deceptively broad language to file lawsuits to force Florida taxpayers to pay for abortions, exactly as they have done in other states that have passed these radical abortion initiatives. For more information, visit www.votenowonforflorida.com.
Yeah, this is one that to me is an absolute no. I am so just against this whole ordeal. And one of the things we had discussed too, and I want to get your feedback on this, is that looking at the amendment as it stands now, you know, what we have, not this amendment, but what they're voting to repeal, it seemed a little bit encroaching to me. It seemed a little bit harsh. I'm not one to tell other people who don't believe like I do that you shouldn't do it. So don't think I'm for abortion. I'm absolutely against abortion. But at the same time, other people, and there's always exceptions to rules where there's people that have things that are going on in their life, and so I understand that, and I want to come across as one who understands that. But at the same time, I've always been and will always be a no vote if we have the option. But one of the things that I wanted to discuss was, for those of you that are just absolute Trump haters, you know, and the way they've put this out is that Trump did this, and he got up and bragged, I did this, you know, because and really he didn't do this. What he did was he nominated judges that would be strict constitutionalists. And what we've been getting on both sides are people who like to legislate from the bench. They like to pass law, and the judges aren't supposed to do that. They're supposed to interpret the law, and then it's the opinion of the court. And so what they did was they knew it was coming, because the more technology we got, all they had to do is prove that an infant, a fetus, is a person. And then that's going to end it, because that was even in the very beginning of it all. They said if you can ever determine if a fetus is a person. I've never known anybody who was pregnant with a fetus and had a donkey, unless they had a Democrat or something. Just a joke. But so what Trump did was, when he nominated these guys, and what these judges did was they looked at it and they said, let's send this back to the states. And because when it's federal, the headship, then we've never, in 52 years, me and you and anybody listening tonight has never been able to vote on the issue of abortion. We've argued it all of our lives. Every 4 years, we've fought over it. People have just had all these different, and so what he did was he had it, the judges sent it back to the states, and now for the first time, you can literally vote. And I even thought of this today, was even if you're, so let's say you're a Democrat and a Christian, and you love the Lord, but you've never liked the abortion idea, but you like a lot of the things the Democrats stand for in terms of a bigger government, you know, cradle to grave kind of protection and cares, and all of some of the things that come with being in a democracy as opposed to a republic, and you like the democracy side, but you've been always felt torn, because when you knew that when you voted for them, you were voting for abortion. Well, now, for the first time ever, you can be a Democrat who has Christian values, but now you vote against abortion and still vote for your candidate that you think is the best candidate. And even though most of the time you're voting for a candidate that's going to try to flip it or make it go back, but at least you did your part. 2 years, since 1972, we've been able to actually have an opinion on this.
This one I also voted no on. I wanted to look at this one actually with an open mind, but because of the definition, or because of the lack of definitions rather. The viability thing, that's up for debate, depending on what doctor you talk to, actually what health provider you talk to also. The health of the mother, that could be like the text says, that could be for anything, if somebody has an anxiety attack or whatever. Anything like that you can stretch so many things. And the thing with this one too is like, the 6-week ban that DeSantis did, I felt like that was a little bit extreme also. But this one is even more extreme in the sense that it swings so far the other way.
Yeah.
And you have to consider too, DeSantis's thing, that wasn't added to the Constitution of Florida. But this one, we really don't know, what this amendment could do until it happens. But once it happens, it's part of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And you need 60% to pass this one. And then in order to undo that, it would take another 60%. So I think this, just to play it safe, I would vote no on this one also.
I think so too. And I want to switch to I have a video that I want to show you. Those of you that are with us tonight, I want to show you this video that really explains this in a way that you wouldn't get it just by reading the amendment. And we can look at the amendments here in a moment, but it's just really important that you can see this. So just watch this video for a second. It's just 2 minutes long.
Bait and switch, sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, all deceptions that make one thing seem like another. Like Amendment 4, an abortion amendment that's much more extreme than at first it seems. Here's Amendment 4, and here are other amendments from years past. Most provide detailed definitions of essential words, so voters know what they're voting on. So how many definitions does Amendment 4 provide? 0. This small trick is a big scam. Amendment 4 says no law shall restrict abortion before viability, but never defines viability. It allows late-term abortions for a patient's health, but never defines patient's health. It allows so-called healthcare providers, not doctors, to define these terms, but never defines healthcare provider, a term broad enough to include non-medical staff at abortion clinics. Just as bad, Amendment 4 eliminates Florida's parental consent laws, replacing consent with notification and making abortion the only medical procedure a minor could undergo without a parent's consent. They didn't have to write Amendment 4 this way, but they did. Why? Because they want to deceive you, to make their extreme amendment seem reasonable. This is what Amendment 4's ballot summary says. But this is what it means. No law shall prohibit any abortion at any time for any reason determined by abortion clinic employees. This amendment makes abortion the only medical procedure your child can undergo without your consent. It sounds extreme because it is extreme. No definitions, no doctors, no parental consent. Amendment 4, way too extreme and not what it seems.
Wow, and that's important that we understand. That's what this is about, and people have gone to great lengths to be deceptive on this one. And when you see the amendment, I mean, I was reading it on my ballot, and I was like, oh my goodness, because you want to. And at first, you just want to color in the dots because that's what you're doing on your ballot. You're just coloring in the dots, and you see it, and it's okay. It's an abortion, okay, and you just vote yes to stop abortions, but because of the way it's worded, you think it's stopping, but what it's really doing is it's limiting any government from any of the laws that they can put on abortion. I think it's crazy.
Yeah. All right.
So vote no on 4.
Amendment 5, homestead exemption tied to inflation. This amendment would require the state's homestead tax exemption to be tied to the consumer price index. Hence, when inflation increases property values, the homestead exemption would also increase, helping ease the tax burden on Florida's family. We strongly encourage a yes vote to ensure the homestead exemption keeps pace with rising inflation.
So when you're a homeowner, you're going to want that.
Yeah.
Definitely, if those of you that just don't know about it, don't vote yourself into more taxes and higher prices. Go ahead and vote a yes on Amendment 5 if you're wanting to have the prices keep up with inflation.
Mm-hmm. And then Amendment 6, the repeal of taxpayer funding for political campaigns. Under the current Constitution, select candidates running for statewide office are entitled to taxpayer dollars to subsidize their political campaigns. In order to qualify for those funds, candidates are required to follow certain funding and spending restrictions. The original intent of the amendment was to reduce candidates' dependence on dark money and special interests. However, it has become a program that simply funnels taxpayer dollars to political campaigns. We strongly recommend voting yes to repeal this waste of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, I think Amendment 6, I voted yes on that when I did mine. So before I ever even went to this, I just thought that would be the way to go with it. So,
Yeah.
and what we wanted to do is, some of you may not have an interest in any of this, but you're there, you're voting, and you're just going to hit, you know, Trump or Kamala. But it's real important that if you're going to vote, you know, you want to vote for the senator as well, like we showed you, and you want to vote for these amendments, which are very important because amendments can be tricky the way they're worded. So this just gives you a straight up or down, and you can see what to do and vote. And you'll just go back and look at this video again if you need to, and you'll be able to kind of have an answer on what would be the best thing to do. Do you have the ability to pull up the actual ballot?
Yeah, this is it right here.
If you'll go to this little thing here, I think it'll take it to,
Oh, yeah.
it'll make it big enough we can all see it. I'm going to kick over to it, and you'll be able to see. For those of you that are getting ready to go vote, this is a sample ballot, and it's like, I think, from Marion County,
Yeah.
which is a good thing, and you'll be able to kind of see, you know, what you're going to do there. I'm working on something here while I'm doing this. So if you want to kind of take us through what we're doing on the left-hand side here, and all these people are for president. That's almost a joke, but the top two are the main ones that you're going to be looking at.
Yeah, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. They do have other candidates, but yeah, like, I mean, those other ones are not going to win. So you really should just pick one of the top two to vote for president. The next one is the senator. That's Rick Scott and Debbie McCarcel-Powell. Honestly, if you vote for, like, if you're voting for Trump, you know, you probably should just vote for Rick Scott too.
Absolutely.
There would be no sense. You know, for me, like, I voted for Trump and I voted for Rick Scott. I don't even really care for Rick Scott that much. But I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump and then vote for McCarcel-Powell to just be a thorn in the side.
Right.
And the opposite too. I mean, if you were voting for Kamala Harris, you wouldn't want to vote for Rick Scott. I mean, you know, so whichever one you choose, the next selection, I would just do the same party.
Yeah, I'd be the same way.
Yeah, and then the same with representative in Congress. That's the U.S. House. I would do the same thing. I voted for Kat Kamak.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're voting for Trump and Scott, you should vote for her also.
And you know, she's real good.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
She has been really a good voice for Florida, but also for America, and she stands for such the type of values that we. And you know, I didn't even really know her when she went in, but I'm really been glad to see how she stood up for the people of Florida. So if you're a Floridian, I encourage you to vote. When you do, vote for Kat Kamak for for representative.
Yeah. And then the next one are state senators. You know, you have Stan McLean. And then the next one is Ryan Chamberlain is for state representative. So this is, you know, this is different because this is about the state. So if if you're supportive of Ron DeSantis's governorship, then you probably should vote for the Republican because, you know, they're going to go along with what he does. If you don't like DeSantis, then, you know, you should want to vote for the Democrats so that they can stop DeSantis, whatever.
And then some people will do, they'll do let's say they go for the Republican president, but the Democrat senator. I think that's crazy, but what they do that for is a check and balance.
Yeah.
So that's a split vote, but I personally want to give them, if I want my guy in there or my girl in there, I want to give them the power that they need.
Yeah.
And that means you got to have the House and Senate at least for the first 2 years of the presidency. It usually flips in the midterms, but
yeah. So and then county commissioner. You could write somebody in, but they're not going to get anything. Justice of the Supreme Court. So these are kind of confusing if you're not I mean, even if you're informed in politics, I had to look this up myself. So like I like DeSantis, so I voted to keep these two Supreme Court justices because he appointed these two. So if you like DeSantis also, then you should just vote yes on these two justices right here. And then the same goes for the District Court of Appeals. I believe these were all DeSantis appointments also, so you would want to vote yes on all of the District Court of Appeal judges.
So if you're listening and you get in there, remember, just vote. If you're wanting to support DeSantis, just vote yes on all of them. If you're in opposition to DeSantis and would hope we get a different governor next time, which he'll be termed out, but then you may want to vote to take these guys out. But but I voted to keep them all.
Yeah, I also did. And then these are the amendments, so the partisan election of the members of the District of School Boards, and then the fishing and hunting one, marijuana, amendment to limit government interference with abortion, and then 5 is the homestead exemption inflation thing, and then the last one is the school board referendum about, the last amendment was Amendment 6, the campaign financing, public funding thing. So these next ones, these are county referendums. So this is, if you live in Marion County, you'll see this, but if you don't, then you won't see this. You might have, Sumter, or if you live out of state, you'll see your county's thing.
Yeah.
This is extension of existing sales surtax for public safety and transportation infrastructure, in order to fund improving roads, reducing traffic congestion, building new fire stations, reducing 911 response times, improving animal control, law enforcement, and other public safety and transportation infrastructure in Marion County and its municipalities as allowed by law, shall Marion County extend the existing 1% sales surtax for a period of 20 years. So I think this was voted in already in 2016. I might be mistaken. So this would just be continuing the existing 1% sales surtax that they already had. So if you want to keep that, then you would vote for the extension. But if you want to do away with it, you would vote against it.
Yeah. So it feels real complicated when you're looking at all this stuff, and it kind of is it's kind of overwhelming. And if you really don't take a moment and study it and look at it, it could be confusing, and a lot of times people will just skip it. They'll just do the vote they know and then skip it, and that's how local elections get won so many times, because they never have a challenger. No one ever challenges because people just skip over all that. Yeah. But the heart of democracy starts in the local elections. It really does. So your mayor, the people in your county commission, your city commissions, all of those things are so very important. So it's really good to do this, and I think it's in a capitalist society, in a free nation like America. I believe it's our Christian duty. I think it's our, as followers of Christ, that we let our voice be heard. We step out and make something happen, or at least voice our opinion. If you're watching tonight, I've got several people on. I haven't been able to go back and look through, but if you had any questions, feel free to list your question down there. And if even if we go off of here, because we're about to wrap it up, but if we do, we see questions, because people will watch this as a video as it goes on and on. But go ahead and make a comment or put a question there, and if we can answer it, we'll come back with the answer for you. We'll research it and get you the answer if we can, if there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
It's just important that you know that this election is pivotal. It's probably, and you've heard it said so many times, but it's one of the most important elections in our lifetime. For those of you that are in the younger side of things, this is going to be a launching pad, and what happens in this election is probably going to have effect on America for 20 years at least, whatever happens. If one side comes in, they're like top-down government type, and they would like to see the government answer all of our questions and be a catch-all, cure-all for all of us. The other side looks at individualism and they want people to have freedoms, less regulation, and be able to make their own decisions. And some people feel like, well, I feel so vulnerable, like I could fall through the cracks if I'm, and that kind of person usually wants to go over and vote Democrat, because they feel like if they're going to take care of me, they're going to make sure I have the things I need, they're going to, I'm going to give money to houses, I'm giving money to all this stuff. The truth is the government don't have any money. They don't make money. The way the government gets money is they tax the people, and then they can take the money that way. Or another way that they get money is they take away taxes from the people and let them have their own money, and they begin to spend it and invest it. And people with no money can't start businesses, but people with money can start a business and hire people, employ them. And so what happens is it begins to produce income. And one of the things that we point out is, like when the largest tax cut that former President Trump gave created more revenue to the government than they had had coming in history. And tariffs that he placed on China brought in so much revenue that when Biden and Harris got in, although they talked about it, they never took those tariffs off because it continues to bring money in. So it's really important to understand a little bit about that. I don't expect you to be a political hack, but we really just wanted to stop in tonight. Thank you for spending a few moments with us. We've been on here a good bit, almost an hour. But thank you for joining with us, and those of you that made comments, we appreciate you being on here and commenting with us. And I just wanted to do something that would cause you to be able to say, hey, I understand it better now. I feel more equipped to go out here and to do this. And so continue on with what you're doing. I encourage you to go out and vote. And if you need a ride to the polls and you need to call us to do that, give us a call. We'll find somebody to get you to the polls, because we want you to be able to vote. We're not trying to influence the way that you vote. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you. But if you just need help, we'll help you any way that we can. So thank you, David, for helping me out tonight, going through this and being a part of this. We're excited about it. And so I encourage you tonight to make sure that you exercise your right to vote. And with that, we're going to get ready to scoot out of here. Thank you for being a part of this tonight. We appreciate it. And we just want you to be equipped when it's time for you to vote. So good night to everybody. Have a blessed evening. God bless you.